express my serious concerns about the Criminal Law Consolidation Street Gangs Amendment Bill. And in doing so, I am mindful that groups such as SACOSS have joined with others, including the National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Legal Services and the Aboriginal Legal Rights Movement, and also eminent voices in this debate, such as the Guardian for Children and Young People, have all urged that this bill be referred to a committee. This bill, in its current form, may have been out for consultation for some time, but in its current form it has only existed, in fact, for just over a week in the public domain. In my reaching out to stakeholders, they noted that while some changes have been made, they still had serious concerns and still needed time to process the bill, and urged that a committee take a proper look at this piece of legislation, particularly with regards to issues such as children with disabilities and unforeseen circumstances. I, Mr. President, rise to admonish members of Parliament who have created a campaign of fear about a supposed youth crime wave in this state. There's been some debate about that, and I note the member for Bragg has led that debate. The debate is not borne out by the statistics, whether you listen to SACOSS, who in their contribution to the Law Society Journal, and I refer members to the analysis there done by Sue Tilley and Rebecca Tui, I think it is, from SACOSS, and I draw members' attention to, in particular, the stats on offending, which take from their genesis the ABS about recorded crime offenders and youth offenders. They say, in that contribution to the Law Society Journal, since December 2023, across all offenders, including young people, every type of offence has decreased, including house break-ins, shop theft, car theft, and theft from vehicles. Robbery and related offences have dropped by 26%, and aggravated robbery offences by 20%. In 2022-23, young offenders constituted only 9% of the total South Australian offender population. Over the 14-year period from 2008-9 to 2022-3, the number of young offenders has more than halved. More than halved, Mr. President, with the decline accelerating after 2016. Of course, it is easy to cherry-pick some figures that start at the period of COVID, where clearly we had quite a break in the usual running of business and the way that this society operated, and pretend that there was some sort of crime wave that needed a response. I remind the opposition that facts matter. Some facts that I'd also like to put on the record today, Mr. President, are that this nation currently spends some $1 billion plus a year locking young people up. In South Australia, we spend 8 times as much on locking young people up as we do on community-based services for them. And you know what? It costs quite a bit to lock a young person up. Not only does it rob them of their future, not only does it break social fabric, it costs some $4,189 a day to lock them up. That's $29,323 a week, or in fact over $1.5 million a year. So if you just stopped and paused and didn't lock, say, one young person up, you'd have another $1.5 million to spend on justice reinvestment, on keeping people out of the system in the first place and creating better lives for all South Australians. I note the words of SACOSS and others that this draft legislation has made some small amendments from the previous position that the government was putting out to consultation, but that does not go anywhere near far enough. In particular, I observe the concerns of The Guardian, and I thank her for her swift response to my correspondence in recent days, noting that none of these groups have actually had adequate time to provide a proper response to this piece of legislation, so I fail to see how any member of this place can do the same. In fact, the Guardian has also pointed to things that need to be done to turn this debate around, to acknowledge the truth of it, and in fact to create better lives for young people. It is, in fact, this bill incompatible with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. And of course, Australia is a signatory to that and does have legal obligations. The risk of overreach, racial profiling and unintended entrenchment of gang identity is significant. This bill does potentially provide a vehicle for racial discrimination, as The Guardian warns, and it has in it the erosion of key legal protections, including the presumption of innocence and the right to silence. Indeed, as The Guardian states, she remains concerned that this bill places the onus on a child or young person to prove that they are not part of a street gang, flying in the face of our usual rule of law. Mr. President, I have given contingent notice of today at the very first opportunity that I had to do so to refer this particular bill, in my case, to the Social Development Committee for further consideration. I note that that will need an absolute majority of this place due to the suspension of standing orders. I also note that the Liberal opposition has indicated that they won't be considering any referral of this bill for further consideration to either the Social Development Committee, the Legislative Review Committee, or indeed a committee that the Liberal opposition could themselves set up to ensure that there is thorough and proper process in this place, that we do not debate bills on the fly one day, one sitting day after they've been introduced, and that we do not deny stakeholders with expertise the ability to have a proper input into the legislation that is debated in this council and in the other place. I think it's a failing of democracy today that has happened. I bemoan the fact that we've ended up in this law and order debate back to the old era of the RAN days, where it's great with a state election in the offing just a few short months away to start talking tough on crime and to throw real statistics and the facts out the window. On a final note, I do note that AI, should you consult it, notes that there is no youth crime wave in South Australia, and in fact we do have the lowest rate, other than the ACT, of youth crime. And I note with some comfort that that statement is backed up by the Attorney-General's own department, as well as groups that I've mentioned today, such as the Law Society paper that SACOSS has penned. I urge members to consider whether they're making a mistake by playing fast and loose with the truth for the sake of political point scoring, and I look forward to the second reading debate and answers to questions that do need a response from the Attorney-General. And it's a deeply disappointing day when we see this sort of legislation rammed through the Parliament, not just through the government's actions, but with the opposition's complicity and inaction.